We're here because 35 years ago, hundreds of thousands of students and workers gathered in Beijing's Tiananmen Square, joined by millions more across China to demand democracy. The CCP chose to stamp them out, crushing calls for freedom under communist tanks. For 75 years, the greatest victims of the CCP have been the Chinese people themselves. Tens of millions have lost their lives, with countless more reduced to forced labor. And today, on this 35th anniversary of Tiananmen Square, Congress sends a clear message. We stand with the victims of Tiananmen Square and all those currently facing the oppression of the Chinese Communist Party.
Today we have to remember that when Chairman Xi Jinping says he will, quote, crack down hard on subversion and separatist activities, and that he will crack down on enemy forces, he's telling the world that the CCP will send those tanks again against anyone that stands up for freedom, and he will deem his own people enemies of the state.
Mr. Krishnamurthy, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's wonderful to be here and strong bipartisan support. We as Americans must speak out for human rights in China, because if we don't, because of commercial reasons, we lose all moral authority to speak out about human rights any place in the world. This is a test of our resolve. And just last week, pro-democracy advocates were prosecuted under the CCP's Article 23 in the latest example of their crackdown on rights and freedoms in Hong Kong. They talk about one country, two systems. And what they are is one country, one very, very violent system that is getting more so.
When this tank moved, he moved. If it moved to the left, he moved to the left. If it moved to the right, he moved to the right. He had his bags in his hands, and he was willing to give his life. And we do not know his name because he did give his life.
我们今天来纪念那个天安门民主运动35周年。其实这个运动影响非常广泛。上个世纪在中国发生了2次重大的运动。
This is a translation of Wei's speech. During the last century, there were two major political movements in China, and their ideas have been impactful on the rest of the world. The first was the Cultural Revolution, launched by Mao Zedong, chairman of the Chinese Communist Party. Its revolutionary idea, based on the use of violence, coupled with Chinese Communist Party extreme Marxist ideology, have inspired violent revolutions and terrorism around the globe.
A fundamental truth that the fight for freedom in China has persisted from generation to generation, and it continues on. We see it when ordinary Chinese citizens...
At this very moment, we are here to remember all the students and the citizens who lost their lives on June 4th, 1989. And I call on all the world not to forget these courageous people. I call on the entire world to pay attention to those in China today who are being persecuted for the simple act of seeking democracy and human rights.
But powerfully protesting the CCP's draconian COVID policies. and when whistleblowers bravely expose